welcome to the EEPROM 9, where I work on mad inventions such as Nixie thingy-mabobs and that. Today's discussion, Windows 8. I actually got to have a play with it for an hour, so I can actually make an informed first impressions opinion of the operating system. And this one might shock a lot of people. It's not as bad as people make it out to be, but yeah, it's kind of flawed. I'm not a fan of it. It's not the next Vista though, I can tell you that. It came about because I went to Salisbury's to get my shoes repaired because I've got that lovely interview tomorrow. And so they look very nice now. They've got a kind of proper things on the bottom and they look more new. That's good. More impressionable for an interview. Although formal shoes are never particularly comfortable, but that's not the point. They're nice and new. Actually, the heels are made out of the sort of plyboardy type stuff. But yeah, Windows 8. After using it, I'm left with the question of, well, what's the point in it? Because it doesn't fulfill any foreseeable gap in the market that I can see. I mean, the Metro interface, as people have said, is horrible to use with a mouse and keyboard. It's just about usable with the arrow keyboards, and that's about it. And using it with a mouse, well, forget it. It's like side scrolling. Mice are barely even compatible with scrolling to the side. So it's useless for a mouse. It's usable for a keyboard, but not great. It's really designed for a touch screen, and if any of you know me, you know I'm not a fan of touchscreens. But why is it only now, after using it, I can comment on it? Because I like to at least be somewhat informed about what I talk about. And so, well, here's the flaws. First off, the start button has now become the propaganda button, or in everyone else's language, the Metro interface. You know, that tiled thing where there was about one useful link in there, and that was to Microsoft Office, and they don't even bloody supply it with a machine. They just supply some crappy free version which bottles out on you after 30 days. Great. Whatever happens to software being included with your computer? It just doesn't happen anymore. Although, saying that, at least you don't get all that bloody what is it? Bloatware with it. Oh, Jesus. I'm glad you don't get the bloatware with it, but it'd be nice to get things like you buy a computer and you get at least things like Microsoft Office on it. That's not much to ask, the amount you pay for them. But anyway, used to get better deals back in the 90s. But anyway, the point is yeah, it's just, that interface is just like, what's the point in it? Because the rest is all just advertising propaganda, just like the Xbox 360 user interface. And you know what the only two things are useful on there is settings and the link to play your game. That's it. Everything else, useless crap, don't care about. And for God's sake, I think you can go on Facebook and that. It's like, why the sod would I want to bloody socialise on my console, which is my recluse time? Ugh. Yeah, I'm not an online gamer. I do online gaming every so often, but I'm not really that into it. I really don't do online gaming much. It's not my thing. I would rather, if I'm going to game with someone and I'm rambling, play it with them, 2-player, in the same room. Far more fun. Anyway, digressing back to Windows 8, the thing is navigation. Your GUI has failed when it's easier to navigate your operating system through the command line. And unless you know the Windows R shortcut to bring up run, good luck finding Windows command line. Because with the lack of a start menu means pretty much you need to know the Windows R command. because otherwise there's no way to find a lot of the sort of admin type stuff you want. That's a point. Where are they going to move bloody system administration tools to now? It's just like, well, I won't compare it to Vista, because Vista was just a complete fuck up to begin with. It was sluggish, it was resource hungry, it was unreliable and crashed and was prone to corruption, and, not to say the least, also difficult to find what you want. Windows 7 only fits one of those things. Difficult to find what you want. So yeah, it's not as bad as people making out it to be, but I said that about Vista and I was wrong there, so maybe with more use it would turn out to be an absolute pig to use. But currently, yeah, I could work with it, but I would not enjoy it. It is what I call a failure from Microsoft, and now they want to kind of release a new operating system every year, which tells me Microsoft have lost the plot, because there's one thing being Apple and actually having a genuine successful strategy behind releasing a new operating system every year, and there's another thing just jumping on the bandwagon, completely missing the point of this whole business strategy. Microsoft have leaped on the bandwagon, completely missing the point. Doesn't surprise me. Why is it always when the main CEOs seem to go, the companies fall into degradation? They do though. I wonder what Bill Gates would have to say about all this. It'd be quite interesting actually, what he'd have to say about what they've done with the decisions in Windows, because he no longer runs it. I don't think he's been running it since like Vista was brought in. But anyway, if you don't know your Windows R command, you're screwed, pretty much. It's not very easy to find anything you want. You can find it through the sort of documents link on when you get it back to a sort of Windows 7 desktop-like thing, but even then it's still not the best way to navigate it. That's one of the things. Someone said the first thing you want to do is make a My Computer shortcut, and I would completely agree. Because it was, well, quite frankly, difficult to find what you want on there, and that is the problem with it. It's difficult to use, and I'm not exactly one who isn't used to computers and weird interfaces. At least with something like an iOS device, I can figure it out relatively quickly. Windows 7 had me quite a while baffled by this thing before me. So yeah, Windows 8 is one of those operating systems which has lost the plot and doesn't really fulfill a need or purpose within the market. It has failed at something. It has failed because it didn't really have anything to set out to. Touchscreen desktops. What's the point in that? What is the point in that? There's just no point. But yeah, my thoughts on Windows 8? Nah, avoid. Either get a copy of Windows 7 for your computer or move to Linux. I can't really comment on moving to Mac because I haven't really ever had a Mac to play with. So I can't give you any advice when it comes to Macintosh computers. But either go Linux or go to 7. And if this is how all their operating systems are going to be, go to Linux. Because this is not the way for the PC. It's like Miss Knight has said this herself. You need the sort of desktop interface and you need the tablet interface. Keep them separate. Like religion and politics, they should be kept separate and never intertwined into each other. Never ever, under any circumstance. Keep them separate. Keep them at different sides of the world. Keep them as separate as possible. They're two things that should never mingle. But I wouldn't say Windows 7 is the next Vista, not by a long shot. Because at least it's not sluggish and slow, as fast on the computers being demoed in Sainsbury's. I suppose you're wondering why I don't have any footage of this. One reason, I didn't have my camera with me at the time because I didn't expect to be doing a sort of first impressions video of Windows 8. And knowing me, I've probably got Windows 8 and 7 mixed around a few times. There's just no purpose for it. I can't. That's the problem with Windows 8. I cannot see a purpose for it. It's on all the computers now that they're selling, but I just don't see the reason for its existence. And no, commercial gain is not a reason, as far as I'm concerned, to release an operating system. That doesn't count. I just don't see a reason for its existence. It's pointless, basically. It fails trying to fill a market which doesn't exist. That's the bottom line. I can see Windows bringing themselves, it's about time they got knocked off the top post.